and I hope that in the next 2 hours, let us plan it in such a way so that maximum output of the session may be attained, may be gained by the participants, right? So what I have done is that, as you know, in the PG diploma in school leadership and management, yeah, okay, one more participant we have, Mr. or Miss Remindako, right? Okay, I welcome you. So in the next 2 hours, what we will do, we have to discuss one block, that is MES 06, right? And in that block we have four units, or you can say four chapters are there. So on day one, that is today, on 3rd of February 2023, we have to cover two units. So I will discuss those two units in detail, and in between you have some questions, in between you want to carry on some discussion, then we can just go for that also, right? So let me just share the screen, and again you need to just confirm me that whether the screen is visible to you or not, right? Is it visible? And I'm just increasing the size of the screen so that it may be very clear to you. Is it okay?
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay,
It
fine.
is okay.
Okay, fine. So today we have to discuss unit number one, that is of curriculum. That is about curriculum concept. What is the concept of curriculum planning and organization? It has been told to me by the regional center Dehradun, that is the IGNO, that the university, that the participants who are in this program, that is the you people, you are engaged in the school teaching, and for a number of years, maybe for one decade or more than one decade, right? So what has been told to me is that we need to discuss with you the certain aspects, the certain things, the certain curriculum content that we have just included in this session of 2 hours, right? So here we will discuss unit number one, and when this unit
Yes.
will be completed, then we will move towards unit number two, right? So in the unit number one, we will talk about curriculum, the concept, its planning and organization, and you will find one interesting thing, that when you will have your exams, that is the term and exams, or when you will go for the submission of the projects through the LMS that has been shared with you, you need to answer the queries, the questions, or submit your assignments based on this teaching learning material. That is the reason that I am sharing with you the whole screen, the whole content, right? So in the unit number one, what has been the given in the structure is that, see, the screen will just scroll down slowly and slowly. This is the structure of unit number one, where we will just introduce, where we will just talk about in brief that what is the meaning of curriculum. So I hope that since you are engaged in teaching learning process for a number of years, for last many decades, so you are well aware that what curriculum is all about. Then what are the objectives of curriculum? Why curriculum is required? Why is it planned? What is the nature of a curriculum? Then in 1.3, we will talk about the meaning and scope of curriculum. Dear friends, we all know that curriculum plays a very vital role, a very important role in the teaching learning process. And in fact, I will say that the teaching learning process cannot be complete until and unless we look upon the curriculum with a wider view, right? So we'll talk about the meaning and scope of curriculum. And when we talk about the meaning and scope of curriculum, we need to define curriculum. We need to see into the definitions of curriculum which have been given by various experts all across the world, like in India, out in African countries, like some of you might be from Nigeria, maybe from Ghana, maybe from Chad, maybe from Zaire, maybe from South Africa, right? So how curriculum may be defined from your perspective. Then the components of curriculum. Then we will talk about the development of curriculum, and finally we will talk about that what is the difference between the words, the terminologies, that is curriculum, syllabus, and course. That what is the syllabus, what actually a course is, like in this Open University, which is one of the prestigious university of India, that is the Indira Gandhi National Open University, IGNO, which is providing you this platform. Here also we have a number of courses which are running. Further, we also talk about the syllabus. We also talk about curriculum when we have to discuss the teaching learning process in the classroom or outside the classroom. Then we will talk about the planning of curriculum, how it may be organized. Then there are certain principles of curriculum planning, like in the African countries also, in your place also, whenever you are going with the school curriculum, whenever you are planning or whenever you are delivering the curriculum in your classroom, then there are certain principles based on which the curriculum is based. Then we will talk about some goals and objectives, and finally we will talk about that what may be the role of the school head, that is the principal, in organizing the curriculum and how it may be organized. So in this manner, again, let me take you the first part of the first section of the screen. This is the whole unit that you have to discuss. Curriculum, its concept, planning, and organization. And then this is the structure. So I think that structure we have discussed, and then we will proceed towards each subsection in detail, just one by one. So, dear friends, when we talk about curriculum, we all know that what curriculum is all about. We know about uh, uh, teaching and learning experiences that our learners they have in the classroom. And when you, as a teacher, maybe some of you might be teaching mathematics, some of you might be engaged in teaching of language, some of you might be engaged in teaching of science or some other subject in the classroom, right? So when we talk about curriculum, what comes into your mind, what we think or what we need to discuss with the learners, right? That is all about the curriculum. So what thing come into our mind when we talk about curriculum? This is the important question. Generally, what I have seen over a long experience, since I'm engaged in the teaching learning process with the learners, with the teacher trainees in our country, in India. So what I have seen is that curriculum can be overviewed. Curriculum can be looked upon in our in a wider perspective as well as in a very narrower perspective. So sometimes it is said that whatsoever we teach in the classroom, whatsoever examples we do give with the learners, that is all about curriculum. But actually, that is not the curriculum. Then what is the curriculum? For that, we need to understand what has been highlighted on the screen, that human beings have created the curricula. And when we talk about curricula, this is nothing but simply the schedule of work, the courses of study down the ages. Means since the civilization, since the dawn of civilization, since the teaching learning has come upon in a formal manner, that is in the school education system, since then we have always introduced and we have always given importance to the teaching learning experiences in the classroom, right? And you can see as it is posted here on the screen, National Society for the Study of Education, that has been underlined, right? So way back since the beginning of the 19th century and also in the 20th century and in the upcoming 21st century, the meaning, the nature of curriculum has changed. Why it has changed? Let us have a quick look on the various definitions so that we may analyze that what actually is the meaning of curriculum. Like in India, like in United States, in the European countries, in the African countries. So wherever you are, you need to understand the curriculum in a perspective, in a manner which suits best to your class. However, way back in 1971, one international seminar was organized in the year 1971, where uh, detailed discussion was carried out so that the wider approach or the wider meaning of curriculum may be developed. So that international seminar was for advanced training for curriculum development and innovation. That was conducted in the year 1971. Right, a number of countries, more than 20 countries, they participated in that program, and they reached upon the conclusion that what may be the actual meaning of the curriculum. Now let us come back quickly to the objectives. Dear participants, after the unit will be completed, these are the certain points that you need to understand. Means if at the end of the session, if we will be engaged in some question answers or if we will engage in some discussion session, then you need to understand the following objective, the following points. You need to understand, see the cursor is there, you need to understand the meaning and scope of curriculum, that what is the actual meaning and what is the scope of the curriculum. Similarly, you need to understand or recall some definitions of curriculum. Why these definitions of curriculum are important? These are important because unless and until you are in a position to describe curriculum in your own words, like some of you may be from the background of science, from the background of mathematics. So what actually curriculum says, that you need to explain. Similarly, the components of the curriculum. So when I will discuss this unit in the first hour of this 2 hour session, then after this session, you will be able to understand all these things, right? And let me say that we will be able to go for a fruitful discussion on all these objectives. Similarly, you will be able to differentiate between the curriculum, syllabus, and the course, and also you will be able to develop an insight into the curriculum planning, that how curriculum may be planned. Then further, you will be able to discuss certain factors that contribute towards a good curriculum. You will be able to appreciate the role of the school head, right? So you can go through these objectives one by one. Why these objectives are important? These objectives are important so that at the end of the session, me as an expert, as well as you as a participant, you as a trainee of the session, may realize, may be confident that you will be in a position to describe all the related aspects one by one. So these are the important objectives, right? Now let us take these points or these objectives one by one. And the first one is the meaning and scope of the curriculum. Again and again, we are talking about curriculum. So can any one of you please just tell me that all this question is open for all, that what is the subject that you are taking in your schools, in your country, as a teacher? Can any one of you please share that what is the subject that you have, either science or language or mathematics or drawing or something else, maybe the sports, physical education? Any one of you please? Is my question clear? I just want to know that what is the subject that you are taking in your school, in your country, as a teacher? Is it science or language or history or some language?
Yeah. Hello, Doc. Can I share?
My I teach chemistry.
Okay,
That
you
is
teach
science
Okay,
chemistry.
basically
I
Okay,
chemistry.
I teach
okay,
science.
fine,
I
thank
teach.
you. You
I
also teach
also teach
science. Okay,
physics
so we have two science
at a
teachers, right?
high school. Yeah.
You teach physics and one is chemistry. Okay, fine. So here I just want to describe, since I have come to know that I have two participants who are from science and one more participant is there. So I will just give more and more examples from science, though I will take from mathematics and from social sciences, from languages also. Yeah, please. You want to add something? Okay. So, dear participants, when we talk about curriculum, right? So, when we talk about curriculum, or in this case, let me take a specific example of science. When I say curriculum in science, so what does that actually mean? So, some of the people, when you will talk with the people in the society, to the parents, to the learners, to some of your colleagues, what they will say that curriculum is all about the syllabus that is mentioned in the textbook. So, what are the topics, the subtopics that we have to discuss in the classroom, that all comes under curriculum. So this is the definition of curriculum. But you as a school teacher, you know, and I also further confirm the same thing, that that is not the actual curriculum. Why that is not the actual curriculum? Because curriculum is a detailed story. Curriculum is just about like the thing which never gets complete, which extends. And in the 21st century, when there is introduction of computers, when there is use of internet in the classroom and outside the classroom, the meaning and scope of curriculum has really widened. It has come to such a vast, it just talks about a vast experiences that the learner they just gain inside and outside the classroom. The same has been mentioned by Bester. See what is highlighted here. According to Bester, right, there are five great areas which covers the curriculum. The first one is command of the mother tongue. Like in your country, what is the mother tongue that you in the mother tongue you just talk about the subjects, like you're teaching science. So maybe one of the medium of teaching science may be the English. In India, the medium of teaching science is English, it is Hindi, and sometimes it's the regional languages. Similarly, in your countries, in your area, you might be using the mother tongue. And the systematic study of the grammar, literature, and writing. So, this literature and writing is also very, very important, because in science, in mathematics, everywhere the use of language is made. Right? So, language is very important. Second important point or second important area is mathematics. Now, mathematics is a universal subject. Right? You just go anywhere across the world, across the globe, you will just find that mathematics is a subject which is very universal in the nature. So the concepts of mathematics, the theorems in mathematics, everything, some of the problems in mathematics, they are just alike. The things and situation may change, but the scope of or the meaning of mathematics curriculum, and especially the subject mathematics, is always the same. Similarly, sciences. Science, what is science? You know, because you're teaching science in the form of physics and chemistry in your classroom. Now, science is all about searching out the truth, that what exists in the nature, what or the nature, the reality of the nature, that is all about science. Similarly, the history, and last is the foreign languages. So these are the five great areas which consist the curriculum. Right? So Bester has defined curriculum in such a manner. Now let me just scroll the screen and come into the etymological meaning of the word curriculum, that what actually is the dictionary meaning of the curriculum. Now you all are the trained teachers, and you know that curriculum is basically the curere, right? See, I have just highlighted it on the screen. Curriculum is curere. It's a Latin word. It means that race course or a runway. Now, what type of race course? You know that race course is actually a course of race where the horses used to run in some event, right? But when this curere or race course or runway, this terminology used in the curriculum as curriculum in our day-to-day classroom teaching, then this curriculum actually means that the path, the way, the path where a teacher has to run or where the teacher has to move along with the learners. So this thing has to keep essentially in the mind that as a school teacher or as a teacher at any level, either in the school teaching or in the university teaching or in the college teaching, anywhere, you have to keep in mind that what curriculum is all about. Because until and unless, like let me take my example from sports, in physical education or from the sports, like you might all have seen the races or some events in Olympics, like swimming or 100-meter race or something like that. So you see that each and every player in the big events or in normal events also, they just follow a particular path. They just run on that path only, right? So what is the reason? Because that path leads them towards the end of some event. The same thing applies here. Unless and until you have that path, you have that race course, you cannot run or you cannot move ahead. Here the run means you cannot move ahead with your learners. And what will that cause? That will cause a problem in the teaching learning process. But when you have a particular way, when you have a particular path to move upon, that is the curriculum, then that will decide that up to what level the teaching learning process will be successful, right? So this curriculum is very, very important. Now let us take some definitions. As I told you in the very beginning, that we will talk about some definitions of curriculum also. So Cunningham in the year 1945, see, I have highlighted this. Cunningham was a educationist, he was a psychologist. In the year 1945, he said that it is a tool in the hands of the teacher. It's a tool. And what a tool can do, like if a tool is there in the hand of a motor mechanic, if a tool is there in the hand of a carpenter, what he will do, he can design anything. Similarly, curriculum is a tool in the hand of the teacher, so that he may mold, he may modify his learners accordingly in the studio. And what is the studio here? This is the school. So this is one of the best definition that most of the educationists, they really comment upon, and it was given by Cunningham in the year 1945. It means that approximately 75 years ago, this definition was given. However, with the passage of time, with the advancement in science and technology, with the advancement in the pedagogical processes, the definition of curriculum has been modified accordingly, right? Let us take one more definition, which was given by Rugg in the year 1947. This is the second definition. What it talks about? It talks about curriculum is the life and program of the school. It's the life of the school. Why he has said that is life of the school? He has said it's life of the school because in curriculum, all the three things, all the three major aspects, there is the teacher, the learner, and the curriculum or the content, everything is involved. So that is the reason that it has been said that curriculum is the life and the program of the school. So dear participant, what we have just learned till now, we have just discussed that what actually we are going to talk about. Then we just discussed that what are the objectives of this first first hour, the first session, where we are going to talk about curriculum. And in that, I just told you that curriculum can be defined in a number of manners. We have taken two definitions, one of Cunningham and second is of the Rugg. Now in India, let me take example from India, since this program is being launched by one of the prestigious university, that is the IGNO in India, which is in the capital of India, that is the New Delhi. So in India, way back in the year 1953, you can see on the screen, one definition is given here, Secondary Education Commission 1953. So almost 70-75 years ago, right? The Secondary Education Commission, like in your countries also, the education commissions, they just work, and at some point of time they just suggest that what are the core areas, what are the fields, what are the areas where improvement is required, right? So in year 1953, this was again done by the Secondary Education Commission, which defined the curriculum with a wider perspective. It said that curriculum is basically the indoor, inside the classroom activities, as well as outside the classroom activities. Or in brief, you can say that what the learners they do in the classroom, what the learners they do in the examinations, what they do in the library, what they do in the laboratory, in the workshop, in the playground, and in the informal interaction with the teachers, everything is curriculum. Similarly, Smith in the year 1957 also talked about the curriculum from his own perspective. So you will see gradually Gradually, with the passage of time, the definition of curriculum has changed from one passage of time, from one decade to another decade. Yeah,
Hello,
yeah,
Dr.
please.
Bahan. Please, your network is breaking.
Pardon. Can you please? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay.
You are audible to us.
Okay. Okay. Fine, sir. I think that some network connection is poor from the side of one of the participants.
Hello, Dr.
Yeah.
Bashaka.
Yes. Please.
Please, kindly check your
Hello.
network. It looks like it is breaking. I can't hear it from my end.
Uh. Okay. Fine. So I have just checked it. The things are okay from my side, right? Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir, it is okay. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Fine, sir.
it's okay,
Okay.
sir. It's
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so let us move ahead and let us proceed a little bit to understand that how the definition of curriculum, or how the integrated definition, I will say, how the definition of curriculum has changed from one passage of time to another one. So we are trying to analyze. See, you can see the screen is scrolling upon, and we are trying to analyze that how the various definitions of curriculum given by certain experts in education, it talks about the different meaning of education from their perspective, right? Now, good, in the year 1959, he also talked about the meaning, or he defined curriculum from a different manner. He said that it is the overall plan. What is the overall plan? Overall plan is basically overall plan is basically the plan which is being planned by the teacher for throughout the session, right? For throughout the session. Similarly, Taba in the year 1962, again I have highlighted it. It is a plan for learning. So he has given very comprehensive, very small definition for curriculum, and he says that it is the plan for the learning. And I have already told you that when we are talking about the teaching learning experiences in the classroom, inside or the outside the classroom, that is all about curriculum. Similarly, some other definitions are also mentioned here. I'm not going for all the definitions because this content is already available with you, right? So you can go for all the definitions and you will find that all the experts, all the commissions, all the definitions which are given by various experts, they have talked about the wider possibilities in the while they have defined the curriculum. Like they have said that curriculum is about the education, curriculum is about the interaction which takes place inside the classroom. So initially I asked the participant that which subject you teach in the classroom. So, two of the participants, they told me that you are the science teachers, you are teaching chemistry and physics in the classroom. Some of you might be teaching mathematics, some of you might be teaching some regional language, or some national language, or the language uh, that is being spoken in your country, right? So whatever is the subject, either it is science, it is physical education, is it drawing, it's computer, anything that you teach in the classroom, that has to be seen with a wider perspective. So what you teach in the classroom, or what are the experiences that the learners are gaining, that the learners, they just achieve, right? The experiences that they have, right? Either through your talk, or either through the experiences that they have, even in the when I say outside the classroom, it means at their home, in the society, with the people, right? So everything, it just comes under curriculum. So many a times, you can see here also, let me just pause the screen. You can see here, let me highlight this, the totality of the learning experience. So when we say curriculum, curriculum may also be defined as the totality of the learning experience. Now, what is this totality of the learning experience? It is the mathematical definition that the learning experiences that the learners have. And believe me, and you also know as a teacher, that these learning experiences are not restricted to the classroom only, because experiences can be gained in the society. Experiences can be gained when the learners, they are going into some exhibition, when they are going into some seminars, when they are going into some workshops, when some expert is being invited in your classroom, or in your school, or in your institution. That may also be the experience. And nowadays, in the 21st century, when we have introduced computers and internet in the classroom, right, through the mobile phones, through the tablets, through the computers, so that also adds a lot of learning experiences to the learners. That also gives a lot of experiences to the learners. Now, when we talk about teaching of science, when we talk about teaching of mathematics, the learning experiences in the sports, So the learners, they have ample opportunities, they have very wider opportunities to understand that yes, this is the actual definition of a particular subject. So this was all about the definitions. There are various definitions, and briefly we have made an attempt to understand that what actually is the meaning, or what is the actually the meaning of the curriculum. So I have told you two important things here, that there is a wider mean, there is a broader meaning, as well as there is a smaller, or you can say narrower meaning of the curriculum. Now we can move towards uh, the definitions of curriculum and the dimensions of the curriculum. Let me pause the screen for you. This is the dimension of the definition of the curriculum. So when I say curriculum and its definition, we have already discussed or analyzed 5 or 6 definitions of the curriculum, and in this content that is already shared with you or will be shared with you through the LMS, you will find that there are many definitions. And as a school teacher also, you have yourself have undergone various definitions of curriculum. Now let us define, or let us discuss that what are the major dimensions of the curriculum. There are two major dimensions of curriculum. One is the end and means. This is the first one, end and means, and second one is the existential and the personal. So when we talk about the end and means dimension of the curriculum, this is very simple. It just talks about that curriculum is often defined in terms of the intended learning outcomes. Now what are these intended learning outcomes? Let me just make a quick uh, discussion on this one. Intended learning outcomes simply means that what are the learning outcomes which are intended. It means that when you are teaching mathematics in your classroom, suppose you are going for the simple mathematical operations like addition, multiplication, subtraction and division. So what will be the learning, what will be the intended learning outcome? The intended learning outcome will be that what the learners will be able to perform, what the learners will be able to do after teaching the basic mathematical operations. Like if you have told them, if you have discussed with them that what is the meaning of addition, suppose you are taking a class of you can say profit and loss, or you are teaching geometry in the classroom, right? Similarly, in science, suppose you are conducting a practical on acids and bases. Similarly, in a class of social science, in geography, in history, you're talking about some nature movement. In the class of language, you're talking about some passage, you are talking about some comprehension, you're talking about grammar, right? So anything that you are teaching in the classroom, and what will be the outcome of that teaching learning experience, what the learners will be able to do, this is the meaning of curriculum. This is the meaning of intended learning outcomes. Now, this intended learning outcome, see here, curriculum may be defined as the means to achieve the ends. So what is the end of the teaching learning process? The end of the teaching learning process is always that finally the learner may be able to do, finally the learner may be able to perform in the examinations, right? Finally the learner may be able to explain that what he or she has achieved. So suppose in your classroom you have a class of 25 students, or maybe 20 or 25 students. So suppose you are teaching them some science, some concept of science, some concept of language, some concept of mathematics. Then what will be the intended learning outcome? The intended learning outcome, or in short, what is called as the ILO. Again, I have highlighted it. The intended learning outcome, that is ILO, is about the outcome of the teaching learning, what has been conducted by you in the classroom. And for that you can take help of some other experts. You yourself are the whole authority, because as a school teacher or as a teacher, you have all the things in your hand, right? Like what are the experiences that you want to share with the learners, that also comes under one of the major aspect, that what will be the intended learning outcomes, right? So I will just discuss in detail the intended learning outcomes a little later. Now let us come quickly to the second aspect of curriculum, that is the existential and potential. Now what is this existential and potential? See, this existential and personal, this is about when it will refer to the textbook. I have highlighted the important content. This existential approach, it refers to the textbook and the materials of instruction and the content, such as the concepts, theories and the facts. It talks about the teaching methodology and the instructions, right? So one example has been taken here. Suppose, see, for example, if the quantum theory were part of the curriculum for a 6-year-old, see, just please read it at your own also, though I am reading it for you. See, this is an example. This is a good example of that what actually is the meaning of this existential and personal. Let me move the screen a little bit ahead. This is the second dimension, existential and personal. The first one was means and ends. Let me move again to the previous slide. The first one was, I'm moving again back. We are talking about the dimensions of the definition of curriculum. There are two major dimensions. One is the means and the end, or you can say ends and the means. The second one is, this is the second one, this is the existential and personal. So when we talk about existential and personal, it simply means that what are the learning experiences of the individual learner in a classroom, because in a classroom we know that individual differences also takes place. Individual differences have a major role to play. And what is the meaning of individual differences? In educational psychology, you are well aware that all the learners, they are not same. Some of the learners, they are good in maths, some of the learners, they are good in science, some of them, they are good in physical education, or some of them, they are good in computers, right? So how you will create a balance, how you will give them personal experiences also along with the intended learning outcomes that we have discussed a few minutes ago. This is the meaning of the existential and the personal. So when you will go through the content, you will just able to find or understand that what we are actually talking about. I have one more example for you, or one more approach to define the existential and the personal dimension of curriculum. According to the existential definition of curriculum, please read the content. The content is defined and outlined according to the knowledge categories. Now, what are these knowledge categories? These knowledge categories are basically the various dimensions as also discussed by Bloom's in his taxonomy. And I'm sure that all of you have also undergone or have studied, because you all are the teachers and you are engaged in teaching learning process for I hope for many years, maybe more than one decade. So you all know that what Bloom's taxonomy is all about. So Bloom's taxonomy also help you out in understanding the existential definition of the curriculum, right? The content is defined, content is outlined, whereas in personal terms, what it is, to understand, I told you that what is the personal meaning. Personal is the personal achievement, the learner by learner. It depends from one learner to the another learner, because some of the learners, they are good in some aspect and some of them, they are better in some other aspect, right? Okay, so dear learners, we have just completed one brief section of today's presentation, and now this is the time to check your progress, right? I am just going through the content which is provided by IGNO, and this is also, it will be available in I think in LMS. So this is the one first stage. This is the stage number one, where you can check your progress. You need not to answer these questions just right now, but little uh, thinking. You need to start think a little from your side, that whether you have been able to understand the root meaning of the word curriculum, what actually curriculum is. If it is, you have understood, then it's fine. Then second is, comment on the definition of curriculum as given by one educationist, right? It may be any educationist. So I hope that this is very easy, and this is very simple to answer, because you have to analyze. So I just try to analyze five or six definition, one of Taba, one of some international seminar, one was given by Indian Education Commission, Secondary Education Commission, 1953. So similarly, you have to do this exercise. You have to comment on one definition given by Richmond. So you can do that little later. Now, what are the four facets of curriculum according to a dictionary of education by PJ Hills? So these four facets, remember these four facets, we just discussed that what are the four facets of curriculum. We discussed about these four facets also, right? So I hope that you will be able to answer this question also. And the last one is, what are the various dimensions of curriculum? This we have recently discussed. There are two dimensions of curriculum. First is means and ends, and second one is the personal one, existential and the personal one, right? So have to differentiate between them. So why am I just discussing this know your progress section? Why I'm discussing these questions? Because uh, the same you have to do when you will be submitting your assignments through the LMS. And if you find any difficulty while solving these questions, or if you have some question in the session also in between, you may just tell me. You may just write in the chat box also, and I will just take your query, and we will just, then we will proceed ahead, right? Okay, so can we move ahead? Can some of the participants please comment upon, can we move ahead? Can we move towards the components of curriculum?
Please, you can move ahead.
Yes.
Yes, please, you can.
Yes, okay, fine. Now we are coming towards a little, you can say, easier section, which is about the component of curriculum, right? Why I'm saying that this is an easier section, or this is a little easy to understand, because this is well understood by you already, that what are the components of curriculum. So there are different components of curriculum, but here we are talking about 5 dimensions or 5 components of the curriculum, right? So again, I repeat that there are many components of curriculum, but here we are talking about at least 5 dimensions or the 5 components. What are these 5 components? A framework of assumptions about the learner and the society. Why society and learner has been mentioned here? Because curriculum is all about what we are giving to the society. We all know that teaching and learning is a very important process. Teaching and learning means curriculum, and curriculum is directly related. It is directly based upon, it is directly derived from the learner and the society, because learner and society, they are a reflection of each other. Learners, the society to which they belong, or the society which produces the learners, they are highly dependent upon each other. That is why we say that a nation, any nation in the world, any nation, right, progresses only when we have good learners in the classroom. Or we say that if we have a good society, then definitely the country, the whole country, the whole nation, the whole society, the family, everything, every component, every subcomponent of the society will progress accordingly. So this is the first assumption, or you can say this is the first component, which is very important, most important. Second is the purpose and aims and objectives. Now this is very simple. You know that what are the aims and objectives of teaching and learning process, right? Science has different aims and objectives. Mathematics have different aims and objectives. So based on the nature of the subject, you have the different aims and objectives of the uh, aims and objectives. Third is the learning experiences. Now, what type of learning experiences? Dear learners, you all know, and in fact, I'm sure that you are doing this in your classroom also, that the 21st century learning experiences, they are totally different from the learning experiences of the 20th century, right? Or if I just go into detail, if I'm not wrong, then you will agree with me, you will totally agree with me that the learning experiences of the last decade, that is from 2011 to 2020, and the learning experiences of this decade from 2021 to 2023, this date, today it is 3rd of February. So those experiences are totally different from these experiences. Why? Because science, the technology, internet, right, these things, they have widely affected or widely contributed to the curriculum. Nowadays, the learners are more smart. That is why we are talking about the smart classrooms. We are talking about the smart apparatuses. We have started using the smart things, the smart watches, the smart blackboards, the smart screens, the smart classrooms, everything. We are talking about these things. So learning experiences, this is again very important. The fourth one is the organization. What is the organization? Here, organization doesn't mean that which institution you belong to. Here it talks about that what is the methodology and the learning environment. That when you are organizing your curriculum in a maths classroom, which approach you are actually going to follow about. Can mathematics be taught with the lecture method only? Can science be taught only with the help of textbook only? The answer is no. To teach science, you have to organize some activities. To teach science, for example, for biology, for chemistry, for physics, what you need to do? You need to take the learners to the real life situations, to the real life experiences, to some laboratories, right? And the last one is the evaluation. Evaluation is also very important, and as a teacher, you understand that what evaluation is all about. So here, when we talk about the components of the curriculum, this component of curriculum, the 5 dimensions or the 5 components of curriculum, just please pay attention here. I'm not saying that there are only 5 components. No, there are more than 5 components of curriculum, but here we have taken 5 most important components of the curriculum, and we have just tried to discuss all these one by one, right? The learner and society. Second is the aims and objectives. Third is the learning experiences. Fourth is the organization, and the last one is the evaluation. So when you will go into these details or into these components of the curriculum, you will just find that all these components are interrelated with each other, and all these components are very important not only for the teachers, not only for you and me as a teacher. It is important for all. This is important for the learners, this is important for the parents, this is important for the government, this is important for the stakeholders, this is important for the NGOs, this is important for society. This is very important for all, because when all will be unified, when all will be make an effort together, then only the education system of any country, either the African countries or the Asian countries, the American countries, European countries, any of the countries, that will develop only when there will be a good coordination between these five components of the curriculum. Right? Now, let us come into some important and another interesting section of this presentation, where on the left hand side you will see I have just put a stamp for comment. So this is for your comment, if you are willing to make a comment, that curriculum work at various levels. The curriculum works at several levels. The question is, what are those levels? What is that? So first is the intended curriculum, second is the actual curriculum, and the third one is the hidden curriculum. So I will start with the third one, that is the hidden curriculum. What is the hidden curriculum? Hidden curriculum is basically the experience or the learning where the learners, they learn something, but actually that is not in the presentable form, that is in the hidden form. For example, when they are singing a song, when they are singing a national song in the school assembly, that is the hidden curriculum. When they are taking the lunch together in the school recess, in the school interval timing, during the school hours, right, they are sitting together, they are promoting from one class to the another class, they are interacting with the students of lower section or the higher section. This all is the hidden curriculum. If you have understood the hidden curriculum, then it is easier to understand the intended curriculum and the actual curriculum, right? So that is the reason that I have put on the left hand side, see where the cursor is moving. This is for your comment, that have you ever realized. If you are willing to make a comment, you can, or this is for your thinking also, for your analysis also, right? That have you ever realized in the school that, or when you was as a student, right, that have you ever been a part of this hidden curriculum? What were your ideas when you used to go to the school, right, in a fancy dress competition, to participate in a fancy dress competition, or on some national day, or in some holidays, after the holidays, when you used to go there, or after celebrating Christmas or some other festival, right, when you used to go to the classroom, that what were the things that you just learned? These are the things which indicate that what was the hidden curriculum. And actual curriculum is very easy. I told you what is the actual curriculum. Suppose you are going into the classroom as a teacher or as a learner, and then you are talking about science, you're talking about language, you're talking about some other curriculum, some other aspects. That is the actual curriculum, which is experienced by the learners, the face to face. Actual curriculum is face to face understanding, the face to face learning, where the teacher is teaching in the classroom and the learners, they are also participating in the classroom. So you all are well familiar with the actual curriculum, because that is a day to day activity. Intended curriculum is also very simple, which is stated in the timetable, which is actually prescribed in the syllabus, in the curriculum, in the content, right? But hidden curriculum is again very important, because this hidden curriculum uh, also helps you out in understanding that what are the core areas where development of the learners, the wholesome development of the learners, can be made, right? Now here a very small activity has been mentioned here. If you are willing to do that activity later on at your school, in your school, in your classroom, then you can just go for this activity. This activity actually talks about analyzing the curriculum at the elementary stage. So if you have a teacher of elementary stage, or maybe secondary stage or senior secondary stage, then you may just go for this activity. Please go for this activity later on when you go into your school after this session, right? You will find that. And what are these five areas? These are actually the dimensions, the components of the curriculum, which I just discussed with you, right? Just try to find out that what I have discussed with you, or what you have learned here, what you have understood here, or what we have discussed here, because in fact this is not a teaching learning class, this is just an interactive session, right? So just go for this activity, and just try to trace out, just try to spell out that how and what is the quality of the curriculum, the school curriculum at the at your stage, at the elementary stage or secondary or the senior secondary stage. Now this is the second pause, this is the second halt of this teaching learning, of this discussion, where you have to check your progress. The first one is list the 5 dimensions of curriculum. So I hope that you will be able to list the 5 dimensions of curriculum that I have recently discussed. Yes or no? Can anyone of you please confirm me that, or will you be able to list the 5 dimensions of curriculum? The 5 dimensions of curriculum which we have recently discussed here. Here we discuss the components of curriculum, right? Will you be able to do this?
Yes, of course.
Okay, similarly the second one, okay, thank you. Mention at least 3 levels at which the curriculum works. This also we have discussed, the 3 levels at which the curriculum works, right? So you can just go for any 3 levels, right? If your answer is yes, or if you have responded yes to me, then we can go for another important subsection, which is the curriculum development, how the curriculum may be
Yes,
developed,
yes.
right? Now when we talk about development of curriculum, this is again very important, because it is ultimately the curriculum which decides that what will be the success of the teacher, what will be the success ratio of the teacher as well as the learners, right? And there are some core areas, there are some subjects which play a very important role while developing the curriculum, right? And what are those subjects? See, I have underlined it, the philosophy of the subject. Generally it is understood that philosophy is not a part, or philosophy as such is not taught in the at the school level. And yes, the answer is yes, philosophy is not taught as such in the school education, but the philosophy of education, the psychology of education, the sociology of education, the history of education, and the economics of education, these 5 areas or these 5 subject areas, they play a very important role. And for a school teacher or for a teacher at any level, these areas are very important, because unless and until a teacher knows that what is the philosophy of teaching mathematics, what is the philosophy of teaching science, what is the philosophy of teaching physical education, like what is the philosophy of teaching physical education? The philosophy of teaching physical education is to tell the learners that always remain fit and healthy, adopt the activities, just go for the activities, just go for the habits, develop the habits in such a way so that you may live a healthy and prosperous life. What is the philosophy of maths? The philosophy of maths is to go for the solutions of the problems, not only the paper pencil problems, but also the problems of the daily life. What is the philosophy of science? The philosophy of science is just remain close to the nature. Nature will give you everything. Nature decides the things in its own way. What is the philosophy of social science? What is the philosophy of computers? Now, what is the philosophy of computer science or computers? If you are teaching computer, the philosophy of computer science is, since it's the subject of science, so it just talks about to do the things quickly and without any error, is one of the philosophies of the computer science. So when we are going for development of curriculum, we need to understand that what is the philosophy, what is the psychology, what is the sociology. Why sociology is important? Sociology is important because, let me just give one interesting example. What we have in India, right, cannot be adopted as such in the African countries. Or what you have in Africa, some of the best practices, though that may be selected, that may be applied as such, right? But the whole everything cannot be applied across the nations. What is the reason? Because the requirement of the society in your country is totally different from the country which belongs to me, right? So do you agree with this, or can we apply same things or similar things in each and every nation? What is your answer, yes or no? Can anyone please answer that what are the requirements in your country or at your place? They are totally different from mine. Do you agree with this, or do we have the same issues or same things? Any one of you please? Let me see if something is
No,
mentioned.
they differ.
They differ, yeah, exactly, they differ,
Yeah.
right? They differ. Why do they differ? Because the societies, right, the people,
Actually,
yeah,
we
right,
can look at the culture.
yeah, definitely the culture plays an important role, the society, the
Yeah.
people, everything,
Mm.
everything is different, right? Okay, so thank you. Let us move ahead. So when we talk about development of curriculum, we find that subjects, they play a very important role. And if we move little ahead, then we will find that we have one major question in our mind, that who should be involved in the process of curriculum development. Who all should be involved? This is the main question. That's the reason that I've highlighted this one. And sometimes this question you also find in your day-to-day discussions also across the experts in your nation. The second important thing is the dynamics of the curriculum development are similar in most of the nations. Though at one time we say that each and every nation has its own priorities. We differ from each other, right? The societies, they differ from each other, but still there are certain things which are just common to all. And what is this common? What is that commonality? The commonality is that each education system, either is African countries or India as a nation, we always talk about the role of education. To understand as a teacher, as an expert in education, that the role of education is to develop or to increase, right, the lifestyle or the life expectancy of the people, to increase, to improve their standard, the standard of living, the standard of happiness, the standard of their livelihood, the standard of spending time, quality time, right? Now the question is, who all should be involved in the process of curriculum development? Whether it should be only the you can say the government only, or the government agencies only, or some administrators only, or thinkers only. So this is one of the question which has been considered as very important in education system of all the countries. In India also, we just many times talk about that who should be involved in the process of curriculum development. So in the process of curriculum development, teachers, they can play, and they can absolutely play a very important role. So the teachers from each level, from every level, teachers from primary level, teachers from secondary level, teachers from senior secondary level, teachers from college and university level, from higher education, right, from secondary education, from primary education, from medical education, from technical education, from all aspects of education, the teachers, they must be involved along with the experts, along with the government agencies. Definitely government will be there as the core, but still, if government is at the core, then revolving around that, right, the teachers, they must also be involved in that. Then certain other professionals, they may also be involved in the process of the curriculum development. And this process of curriculum development, generally it is done. That is the reason that we are here in a program where Indo and African countries, India and the African countries, they are involved in this exchange program, or you can say in this teaching learning exchange opportunities, where I am here with you, and I'm just trying to understand that what is the system of education which is prevalent at your place, what you are teaching at your place, how you are teaching at your place, right? So this is very important. So we need to think upon this question uh, at many points of time, that who should actually be involved in the process of the curriculum development. Now again, let me move to another important and very easier part of this presentation. This is comparatively very easy to understand, that what is the meaning of curriculum, syllabus, and course, because this is all well known to you, that curriculum is a wider word. I will not take much time to discuss this, because you all know that curriculum is everything. When we talk about teaching learning experiences, then everything is in the word curriculum. And curriculum gives birth to a smaller word, that is the syllabus. And that syllabus is further divided into various aspects that may be divided, that may be named as the course. Like you are going for PGDSLM. So PGDSLM is basically a course. PGDSLM is basically a course, like this PG diploma. This is a diploma program, postgraduate diploma program, and this is a course on the school learning and management, the school leadership and management, right? So this is a course. It has a particular syllabus which we are just going to discuss here. That is the reason that I am just sharing with you the whole syllabus. What is the reason that I am sharing with you these things on the screen? The reason is that because I feel strongly that if I am going to discuss with you the syllabus, the whole syllabus, in this 2 hour session, and one more session a little later, maybe on the next week, then you will be able to understand that what actually you have to think about, right? So this is the actual meaning of curriculum, syllabus, and course, right? So course is basically you can say it's a central idea. Course is a fundamental, you can see I have highlighted it, fundamental instructional category. So if you are talking about school leadership and management, so this is a fundamental instructional category where I will talk about school leadership and management. It has a syllabus, and then the experiences that you will have, that is the curriculum, and those experiences are not limited. It is not like that that what I'm just telling to you, what I'm sharing with you, the examples that I'm giving to you, that is only the curriculum. No, it is also about what you have understood, what you have gained, or what you see in your society, in what you have as your personal experiences in the teaching learning experiences in the classrooms, inside and outside the classrooms at your place, right? So syllabus is a narrower word, whereas curriculum is a very broad term. It's a very broad, right? It has a broad meaning, right? And syllabus is a part of the curriculum, right? And you know that curriculum, the courses may be divided into topics and subtopics. This I have highlighted. Why I have highlighted this? Because you know that this is school leadership and management. This can also be divided into certain topics and subtopics. Like today we are talking about the topic. This is about the curriculum, right? So this is a very simple thing, and I hope that when you will go through this content, you will be able to understand. Now here I need to stop for a few seconds, because an activity has been mentioned here. Why I'm emphasizing on these activities? We have less time, because we cannot conduct such type of activities in this 2 hour session, but I'm just not leaving any of the activities, because when later on you will go through this content through the LMS, you need to conduct or carry out these activities in your spare time in your institutions, right? So let us take this activity. You may just analyze and evaluate the syllabus of your respective subject. So if you're teaching mathematics or science, chemistry, physics, anything, you may just analyze and evaluate the syllabus, and then you have to keep certain things in your mind and just try to prepare a report that does the syllabus refer to or make use of the local knowledge and the resources, that is the indigenous knowledge, whether indigenous knowledge has been given importance or not, right? This you have to analyze. Similarly, the language, whether that language is communicative, it is appropriate for the age, this you have to find out. And the last is, can the text be extended to bring the local knowledge and the resources? Because the local knowledge, the indigenous knowledge, that should be given acute importance, right? So this is the activity that you can just conduct little later after this session, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe when you will get some time. You need to conduct this activity by your own, and you may just perform this activity in the group also, right? Again, there are some questions which are very easier for you to now to perform upon. What is the meaning of course and syllabus? Differentiate it. I hope that all of you will be able to do. Similarly, comment on one of the definition of curriculum given by Richmond. So this is again very simple question, very simple exercise. You can take a number of definition. It is asking only for one definition. I will suggest you that you just go for 2 or 3 definitions and just try to analyze that what these just talk about. Okay, so the first unit, I think that more than half of the first unit I have already discussed. Do you have some questions or queries, or should I move upon and talk about curriculum planning and organization? Yeah, any one of you, please. Is it clear to you, or you need some explanation, or some questions are there from your side? Yeah, please, any one of you, please. Let me also check in the chat box if there are some questions. Yeah, any questions, or may I just move ahead with curriculum planning and organization? Yeah, any of the participant? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so can we move ahead, or if there is some question, then I may take that question, because we are very close to the end of unit number 1, then we will move towards unit number 2. Any questions, please? Okay, I think that I may get some questions a little later at the end of the session, right? So let me start talking about curriculum planning and organization. How the curriculum may be planned, how it may be organized. So in India, what we have some National Council of Educational Research and Training, which works at the national level, right? That is called as the NCRT. Similarly, since India is a country which has number of states, right? More than 25 states we have. So at the state level also, we have the state councils of educational research and training. And I believe, and I have searched it out, that in African countries also, different nations, they have different agencies, different councils different apex bodies which decide that how and in what manner the curriculum may be developed, right? So this is a uniform feature that we have in India as well as in the African countries. Now, some international organizations like UNESCO, you all might have heard about UNESCO, I'm sure. UNESCO also plays a very significant role in educational as well as the curriculum reform. In what manners? In the manners that we are going to discuss now, in the manners of the principles. So these are some of the principles of curriculum planning, and there are more than 10 or 15 principles of curriculum planning. We can just take some of the principles. You will find these principles very interesting, and they act as the backbone of the curriculum planning, right? So first principle is the balance between the tradition and the modernity. Now this is very important because when we talk about the traditional knowledge or when we talk about the modern knowledge, we need to create a balance between these two. Why we need to create a balance between these two? Because unless and until we are well aware of the history of our ancestors, of our education system, of our society, of our culture, we may not progress in an effective manner. That is why a balance is required between tradition and the modernity. Second is the flexible and creative. We need to be flexible, we need to be creative, because if we are not flexible, then we may not induct, we may not introduce, we may not adopt the good practices which are all around us, right? And these good practices may be from some other nations, maybe from other societies, maybe from in our societies, it may be anything like that. Third is learner centered, activity oriented. This I have already discussed. Fourth is the age and the stage specific. What is this age specific and stage specific? This talks about that the age, if the learners in the African countries or in any nation, grade 6, if the learner belongs to grade 7, if the learner belongs to grade 11th, right, senior secondary, secondary level, primary level, then the content, the curriculum, it should be age specific and the grade specific, that is the stage specific only. Then individual differences, this again I have discussed you when I talked about psychology, educational psychology. Then it should be relevant, it should be oriented with life, it should be full with joy, it should have some meaning, right? It should be relevant only. Then wholesomeness and comprehensiveness. The curriculum should talk about the all-round development of the personality. It should not be one way. It should not be about only mathematics centered. It should not be focusing only on the languages only. It should not focus only on the teaching learning processes in a very disorganized manner. Rather, it should be very comprehensive in the nature. Value orientation, character building. This is the chief component or the one of the most important principles of curriculum development, because character building, value education, it plays a very important role in the later years of life also. Then four pillars. I will just take a little time to discuss the four pillars. These four pillars are actually given by UNESCO, the Delors Commission, after the name of the French chairperson of the commission, which was Delors, the treasure within. He mentioned that four principles are there. Please focus upon these four principles in your classroom also. Learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. So these four pillars, they should also be kept in the mind. Then national goals. This is again very important. You know that what is the meaning of the national goal. Though every nation has its own goals, but when we are talking about curriculum or development of curriculum, then national goals, they should also be kept in the mind. Now, another one is the judicious mix of centralized and localized elements. This also we have discussed. We discussed about the indigenous knowledge, what we have in the form of our history, what good things we have, that should be focused upon. So you can see that there are a lot of principles which we have discussed. We started from here, principles of curriculum planning. Then these are the principles which we discussed: flexibility, age specific, individual differences. I'm just repeating it again so that you may get a clear idea that what we are actually talking about. We are talking about the principles of the curriculum development. Character building, I said. Then I said the four pillars of education. This is also to be included in our curriculum development. Then incorporating the latest development. As I told you that the 21st century is the century which has affected the development of curriculum in a very progressive manner. So all the discoveries and inventions, they must be included in the curriculum of science, mathematics, languages, everywhere. Then another important thing is joyful learning. Learning should be joyful. It should not be filled with boredom, or it should not be filled with, it should not be just a burden. It should be joyful learning. Then learner centric it should be, and it should be continuous, and must be based on certain modifications and the revisions. So there are more than 10 or 12 principles of curriculum development, which are essentially to be understood by a teacher as well as the stakeholders and the policymakers, so that we may say that yes, we have developed a curriculum which is more meaningful. Again, one activity based on this curriculum development has been mentioned here, that you can just do in your spare time. And if we move little ahead, then finally we can talk about the goals and objectives. Though I understand that, or I have the strong idea, strong feeling that you all have understood that what are these goals and objectives, particularly when they are talked with reference to the curriculum. You know that these goals and objectives, right, they are an integral part of the curriculum. These are the essential components of the curriculum, right? So these goals and objectives, they are to be decided by you as a teacher. So you have a very important role. And if you are a primary teacher, see, I have highlighted this is the yellow color. I have highlighted this one. It can be seen in various ways. The goals and objectives, it may be stage wise. If you are an elementary teacher, class wise, if you are teaching the class of class 5th, class 8th, class 10th, subject wise, either you are a science teacher, language teacher, mathematics teacher, anything that you are teaching in the classroom, right? Accordingly, the goals and objectives, they must be developed. And when you are developing these goals and objectives, then the taxonomy of Bloom's, the Bloom's taxonomy, that should also be kept in the mind. And the Bloom's taxonomy, you are aware of this one: the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. This is again, let me highlight this one. These are the components of some subcomponents, the components and subcomponents of the Bloom's taxonomy, which talks about the cognitive, affective, and the psychomotor domains, right? And the terminologies have been mentioned here. So since you are all the trained teachers, I am sure that you might have gone through these terminologies earlier also. And with a brief repetition of the facts, with a brief revision of the facts that we have in this unit, I hope that you will be in a position to go for the real and actual analysis of the word curriculum, and further apply it in your day-to-day teaching learning activities. And in the end, let me just say that thanks for your patience for listening. And you were quite interactive in between also. Some of you also tried to respond to my questions, my queries, right? And the same we will do in the unit number 2, which is about the designing of important some other important aspects that we have in the school teaching learning experiences, right? In the end, we have the role of the school head also, right? One more thing that we have to discuss here, and then we will just announce the completion of unit number 1. Then we will proceed quickly to unit number 2. What is the role of the school head in curriculum planning and organization? Can anyone of you give me a brief idea, or can you just share your experiences that what is the role of a school head, what we call as the school principal? Anything you may say in developing the curriculum. Any one of you, please. Can you please unmute yourself and just share your idea in the African countries, how and what is the role that a school head, a school principal may play when you have to design a school curriculum? Yeah, any idea, please? Any one of you? Okay, so when we talk about the role of the school head in curriculum planning and organization, right, the school head has to play a very important role, because ultimately the school head is the principal who will just decide, or who will just manage a balance between the things, between the curriculum and the certain experiences. And in that process, he or she, that is the school head, has to keep in mind the principles of curriculum construction, right? So this was all from my side for unit number 1, and now I think that we may go for unit number 2 also, right? So unit number 2, we will talk about timetabling and the school calendar. So can anyone just assure me that this screen is clearly visible to you? Any one of the participant?
It is.
It is okay. So, what is your subject? If I'm talking to Miss Muniba Sufyan, yeah. What is your subject, madam? Please, can you please elaborate me? Which subject do you teach in the school teaching?
Physics.
You teach physics. Okay, so you are again the science teacher, right? Okay, so by far we have discussed the important aspect of, you can say, in the unit number one. Unit number one, we just talked about curriculum, its concept, planning and organization. Now we are talking about timetabling and the school calendar. What is the importance of timetable and what is the school calendar, right? So let me just share this screen again, and let me take this topic and just see that how this may be helpful for a school teacher. So in this unit we have to discuss about the nature, the need and importance of the timetable, what actually the timetable is, what are the various types of the timetable, and what are the principles of timetable construction. What is the requirement that we are talking here about the timetable? Though generally it is assumed or it is realized that timetable is a very simple thing, right? But generally it is not so. Why is it not so? Because timetable is very important from the viewpoint of a principal, from the viewpoint of a school teacher, from the viewpoint of the learners, from the viewpoint of the parents, from the viewpoint of society. So everyone has to be a part of this timetable construction. But is it possible? Are the principles of timetable constructions, they just talk about, do they talk about this thing what I'm just suggesting you, or what do they suggest you? What are the constraints of timetable? What are the things that you have to keep in mind while designing the timetable for primary schools, for secondary schools, and for senior secondary schools? And what are the important terminologies? What is the responsibility of the head teacher in developing a school timetable, in constructing a school timetable? These all things we are going to discuss in the unit number 2, right? So, dear participants, dear school teachers, when we talk about timetable, you all know that timetable is all about an arrangement, which is done in a very systematic and in a very disciplined manner. Why in a systematic and disciplined manner? Because this timetable is actually the distribution of the school hours, of the school working hours, so that the teachers, the learners, the facilitators, the principal or the school head, everything may be in a comfortable zone, may feel comfortable, and the school may run properly. And when we say the school must run properly, it simply means that the learners, the teachers, they may not face any difficulty, and the teaching learning processes may be improved. They may get improved, right? The teaching learning processes may improve from journal to specific, and later on they may become excellent, so that we may get the intended learning outcomes. And what are these intended learning outcomes? This we have discussed in the unit number 1 in the previous 1 hour discussion, so that we may achieve what we want to discuss with the learners. We may produce good children, we may produce good learners, we may produce the learners who are good not only in science, in physics, mathematics, in chemistry, or in biology, or in sports, or in computers, or in drawing and painting, in languages. Rather, we may produce the learners or the children or the learners in such a manner so that they may be good enough for the society, as well as for the nation, as well as for the world. So with this holistic idea of development of the learners, timetable plays a very important role, right? And see the statement that I have highlighted here: in the developing world, the emphasis on cost effectiveness cannot be overstated. This is very important for the developing countries also, right? Why important? Because unless and until we give specific results in the education system, we cannot think of the development of the learners, development of society, development of the nation in an appropriate manner, right? So the good things and the better things in a cost effective manner, for that management of timetable is very important. And for that we have to understand that what this unit talks about, and this is an important feature of the school leadership and management. Now, what are the objectives that we have here in this unit number 2? The objectives are: you need to understand what is the timetable, you need to list the various types of timetable, you need to understand the principles of timetable construction. As in the previous session also, it was the principles of curriculum construction. Here we will talk about the principles of timetable construction. then the constraints of timetable, then timetabling at the three stages: primary, secondary, and the tertiary or the senior secondary stages. What are the steps which are involved? What is the role of the head teachers and how to manage the timetabling? These all things we have to discuss, right? So you need to understand that what are the objectives of this particular session or this particular unit. And what is the name of the unit? We are talking about timetabling and the school calendar. You can see timetabling and the school calendar, right? Okay, now what is the need and importance of the timetable? As I told you, dear participants, that when we talk about the timetable, timetable is basically the framework on which the school runs, on which the school proceeds, on which it works actually, and it is a helping hand. Timetable gives you an idea that how much time do we have, as the prestigious IGNO University has arranged for you these sessions, maybe every day, maybe with a gap of some few days, accordingly, right, according to your comfort, according to the convenience of the university, right? So why this program has been uh, organized, or why a timetable has been set up, session wise schedule has been distributed, has been circulated with you as well as with the experts, so that each one of us, the experts as well as the learners as well as the you people, you may just join this program with your own convenience. So this is the importance of the timetable. So a timetable facilitates all the people, all the participants, all the people who are a part of that event, in such a manner that it becomes feasible and convenient for all to join the program and to achieve the maximum out of that, right? Similarly, in a school which runs for the whole session, which runs for the whole year, it is very important to manage and construct a good timetable, right? So what does the timetable actually does? It ensures a smooth and orderly functioning of the school. It gives the opportunity to the teachers, to the learners, to the stakeholders, to the society to work in a very systematic manner. Similarly, it provides uh, an opportunity to avoid the wastage of time and wastage of energy, because if everything is running on time, on the correct time, then what happens? Then you have an ample opportunity to decide that what is going correctly, and where the modifications and where the corrections or where necessary arrangements are to be made. So this is another beauty of constructing a good timetable. Another important feature of timetable is it ensures distribution of work among the teachers. Now, suppose you are a science teacher. One of my colleague, one of my friends from Africa, just told me that she is a teacher who is teaching chemistry. Some other teachers, they are teaching physics, science, or maybe languages also, right? So it may be that in your school or in your institution or in some other institutions, there may be only a few teachers, not more teachers, right? So to ensure the equal distribution of work among the teachers, a timetable is very important, right? Otherwise, what will happen? Otherwise, it will provide, it will just create a disturbance among the functioning of the teachers, because if some teacher is engaged more than some other teacher, what will that lead towards? That will lead towards the burnout that of that teacher. What is the meaning of burnout? Burnout is to just give more efforts on one, more pressure on one teacher, whereas the other teacher will enjoy the liberty. So to avoid those situations, this is important. Now it also ensures the equal distribution of time to subjects and the activities. Timetable is important so that we may just go for the curricular activities as well as for the co-curricular activities, because nowadays, you understand, even not only nowadays, even in the last decades, right, from the last decades, equal importance is given to the core subject like mathematics and science and languages, as well as to the sports also, to the drawing also, to the languages also, right? Another important feature is in adjusting the schoolwork according to the need of the people. This requirement of the people is also very important, right? So to create the adjustment, to maintain the adjustment along with the schoolwork, for that also uh, timetable is very important. In short, I will say, or I will suggest, or if you just ask for my opinion, then as an expert, I will suggest you that to create a good balance between curricular and the co-curricular activities, the creation and construction of a good timetable is very essential, right? It also helps in the formulation of good habits also. What type of good habits? Habits like orderliness, punctuality, the steadiness of the purpose. So these things are also developed among the learners as well as the teachers when we are going for the good timetable. And lastly, it also helps in the school discipline. So what we have discussed by now, we have discussed that what is the importance or what is the requirement of a school timetable. So we have talked about a number of things, a number of good things that a timetable gives us. But if we define it one line, that what actually is a timetable, is it necessary to construct a timetable? Then the answer will be that a timetable is an absolute necessity of a school. See, I have highlighted it, an absolute necessity for every type of a school, and its vital importance cannot be denied. So a timetable is not only required, but also it is essential, it is necessary, because without a timetable we cannot imagine or we cannot ensure the successful running of that particular school. Otherwise it will just create a chaos, right? So while preparing a timetable, since timetable is very important, so when we are going to create or when we are going to construct a timetable, a good timetable, there are certain points which we have to keep in the mind. Now what are those things that we have now that we are going to just discuss now? But before that, you need to understand that what are the different types of the timetable. Now these types of the timetable, they are basically, right, because only one timetable, it will not fulfill the purpose, it will not serve the purpose. So we need to create the timetables, we need to construct the timetable as per the requirement. So the first timetable is basically the consolidated timetable for the whole school. Now what is this consolidated timetable? This is the timetable for the school which is generally kept with the principal, which is generally kept with the head of the school, that what is the whole timetable for the school. This is the general timetable for the school, right? This is a general timetable. This gives a complete picture that what will happen at what time in the school. This remains only with the head of the teacher or only with the higher authority of the teacher. Second is the class timetable. This is the consolidated timetable, which is also known as the general timetable. The second one is the class timetable. Now what is the class timetable? For each class, like you are a science teacher, you are a social science teacher, you are a language teacher, you are taking 2 or 3 classes or 4 or 5 classes, maybe grade 6th, maybe grade 7th, 8th, grade 9th, or maybe some other grade. So you will have a timetable in your hand so that you may know that which class you have to attain. Similarly, the teacher's timetable. Now this class timetable and teacher's timetable, they are totally different from each other, right? Because class timetable, it remains with the class teacher. He knows that what will happen in grade 6th. Now this class timetable is very similar to the teacher's timetable, and this teacher's timetable is actually the timetable which every teacher has. So that's the reason that every teacher in the school, in the institution, have a copy of this timetable, teacher's timetable, right? If there are 8 or 10 teachers in the school, so every teacher will have a teacher's timetable, right? What is the reason? So that they may have an idea that in which class they have to enter, at what time they have to perform which activity. So class timetable is the second one, teacher's timetable is the third one. Fourth is the vacant period timetable. This is very simple to understand, because generally it happens that if some teacher is on leave or if some teacher is not available due to certain reasons, maybe health reasons, maybe due to some other engagement in the society or at home, or maybe due to illness, so in that case vacant period timetable will be there. Generally it is all, it also it is with the headmaster, with the head of the school. Now games timetable, it is very easy to understand the games timetable. This generally is available with the school head or it remains with the physical science teacher, physical sports teacher. Games timetable. Then co-curricular timetable, right? So in this manner you can see that we have different types of timetable, and these timetables, they are kept in the custody of the teacher who is taking care of. So a co-curricular activity timetable will be kept with the teacher who is taking care of the co-curricular activities. And the last one is the homework timetable. Now this homework timetable is, it just talks about the homework, the homework which is assigned to the learners. Now this homework timetable is important for the learners also. Generally the timetable is kept with the teachers, but the homework timetable is also shared with the learners so that they may get an idea that what they are going to do. do there, right? Now, since we have discussed the four or five, more than five or six type of the timetable, now is the time to discuss about the school calendar, that what actually a school calendar is. Now, the concept of the school calendar is not very new. The school calendar is basically a timetable. It's a timetable which is for the whole session. This is not for an ordinary day. This is not for one day. In fact, the school calendar, we are talking about the school calendar. We are not talking now about a timetable. The school calendar is totally different from the timetable. It's a calendar. It's a sequence of event, right? It's a sequence of events which tells us that what will happen at what time in a particular school. Like, suppose you have to celebrate some national holiday, you have to celebrate some literacy day, you have to celebrate some human rights day, you have to celebrate some other national day, right? You have to celebrate the birthday or some other national event, right, in your school. So in that day, on that particular day, the school calendar has to be followed. Now, this school calendar does not talk only about the co-curricular activities, or it does not talk only about the organization of events. It also talks about the curricular aspects also, that when the examinations will be conducted. It also talks about that when the sports activities will be conducted. It also talks about that when there will be the school holidays, like in summers or in winters or in rainy season, during the time of Christmas, during the time of some other festivals, when and how the school will be conducted. This all is mentioned, right, in the school calendar. So that's the reason that in a document named as the school diary, the school calendar is always mentioned. Now, this calendar is very important, right? Now, here is some assignment for you, which you may just go and must do upon, must check upon in your leisure time. You can check your progress through these items, through these questions. Mention 4 points that show the need and importance of timetable. What are the 4 points? So I have already discussed with you that why timetable is important, what is requirement, right? Then what are the different types of timetable? You can just mention any 2 or 3 types of timetable. We have discussed more than 5 types of timetable, right? And write a note on the school calendar. So when you will write a note on a school calendar, please do not forget to mention that the school calendar is actually a sequence of the events. What type of events? Events of all type, curricular as well as co-curricular, events of all importance, like important for the stakeholders, important for the parents, important for the learners, important for the teachers, important for the society also. So in this way, you will find that school timetable, it plays a very important role. And for the learners or for you as a participant in this postgraduate diploma on school leadership and management, you need to understand that for management purpose, for leadership purpose, for managing the things, you need to understand that what is the importance of timetable. And for that, obviously, you need to understand that what are the various types of the timetable, what are the importance of those types of the timetable, which I have discussed with you in brief. Still, if there were some questions, then you may just post it here. Also, you may post your questions in the LMS that I have told you frequently, right? Now, another important feature of today's discussion is principles of timetable constructions. Right? What are the principles of timetable constructions? Dear learners, in the previous session, when we are talking about the curriculum construction, there also I discussed with you principles of timetable, principles of curriculum construction. Here I am talking about principles of timetable constructions. Now, why these principles are mentioned and why, what is the importance of these principles? The importance of these principles is that unless and until we have the information, we have the idea that what are the core principles of timetable construction, we cannot prepare a good timetable. And suppose what will happen, let me ask you a question, and you just try to answer this question by your own, and just think upon this question, not necessarily to be answered just right now, that what will happen if a timetable is prepared in the school, but that timetable is not based on the principles. What will happen? So in that case, that will create a problem in the normal functioning of the school, because things will not happen at the right time, things will not happen accurately, things will not happen in a disciplined manner. So that will create more problem, that will create a situation where there will be everything scattered, that will create a havoc in the classroom, inside the classroom, outside the classroom, in the whole school. So that's the reason that for school leaders and for school managers, for school head, for you as a teacher, you need to understand that what type of the principles are there, right? So first is the type of the school. So just go for the type of the school. What type of activities are organized in your school? Whether it's a school only for the boys, or it's a school it's for the girls, or for both the type of the girls. Then along with that, which type of a school is that? Is it a primary school, or you can say elementary school, or it's a secondary school, or it's a senior secondary school? So what is the type of the school? This is very important. This is the first principle or the first point that you have to keep in the mind. Second important point is the departmental regulations. Who is the authority? Who is running your school? Whether it comes under the state, whether it comes under the central government. Central government means the national government. Whether it comes under some other party, whether it comes under some NGO, whether it comes under the regulations of one person only, that is a private school or a public school, right? Then amount of the time that is available. This is the third point. What is the time that you have? Because if you have a school which is running for 6 hours or for 8 hours, depending upon the weather conditions, depending upon the situations in your country, in your locality, in your area, right? So the amount of the time that may be divided accordingly, because in most of the times what happens, like in India, what happens in most of the schools, there are the schools which run twice a day, means in the morning session, also in the evening session, because the number of students may be more, right? The school may be situated in a premises which is not that much. It may be some school which may be including, which may be just which may have more than 4,000 or 5,000 students in one go, right? So that may be divided into two counts. So just go for these 3 points. Let me repeat it again. Just go for the type of the school, then just go for the regulations, who is running your school, just go for the time, amount of the time which is available, then go for the importance and difficulty of the subjects. What type of the subjects are being taught in a school? Generally it is seen that all the subjects, mathematics, English, arithmetic, craft, social studies, every subject is being taught at the schools. So what is the importance and difficulty of the subjects, that also you have to keep in the mind. Then the last point that you have to keep in mind is the element of fatigue. What is this element of fatigue? This is basically a psychological factor, that what subject you want to teach to the learners in the beginning of the day. Like mathematics is considered as a difficult subject, so where to place mathematics, this you have to decide. You cannot place mathematics at the end of the day. Why you cannot place mathematics at the end of the day, or why you should avoid doing this? You should avoid doing this because mathematics, science, these are the subjects which require more energy, which require more work to be done. So for that, you need to avoid the timings of the last sessions or the last periods. For that, you need to keep a time which may be the beginning of the day, so that the learners, they may just go with full attention, they may just have the power, the brain power, they may use more power, right, to understand these difficult and the abstract subjects. Similarly, the day. Let me give an interesting example, that Monday is only the warming up day and Saturday is perhaps the worst. Why is it said, or why is it suggested to the school leaders and the managers to understand this fact, that Monday is a good day and Saturday is not as good as Monday? Why is it suggested? Because from Monday to Saturday, in 5 or 6 working days, the learners, they have to work very hard, so they just get fatigued, they just get tired, right? So you need to understand that what may be the better psychology, or what may be the better way to arrange a timetable in your school, in your institution, if you are a school principal, or if you are a school head, or if you are a senior teacher who is going to conduct a timetable. Similarly, the variety of what? Variety of subjects, variety of the people. What type of the learners are in your school? What type of arrangements are being done there? And the last one is the elasticity. Elasticity is basically the opportunity that you give to the learners, so that the learners, they may feel that timetable is not very rigid, timetable is flexible. That is the meaning of the elasticity. So with these points in mind, you may just go for the construction of a good timetable, and accordingly you will see better results, right? So these are the more than 5 principles are there. You need to take all these principles in one go. You need to keep all these principles in mind when you are going to construct a good timetable for your institutions, right? Now there are some other points also. What are those other points? Like staff, equipment, and building. Now the earlier sources or the earlier principles, they were just discussed with the viewpoint or with the idea that these are all in your hands. Now there are certain other points like staff, what is the equipment, what type of building is there, right? These things are also to be kept in mind. What do we mean by staff? Staff means the teachers which are available. Many times it happens that you have less number of mathematics teachers, you have less number of language teachers, you have only one teacher who is teaching science. Similarly, the equipments, suppose there is a good enrollment in your school, more number of learners are there, but equipments in science laboratory is less, right? So what you need to do. Similarly, the building, whether the building is sufficient for learners, means if you have 500 learners, is it the same building? For 1000 learners, is it the same building? Or if you have only 250 learners, whether it is the same building, you need to keep all these things in your mind. So that will definitely affect the construction of a good timetable. Then it is the pupil centered. The timetable must always be the pupil centered, right? Because if it is not pupil centered, it is only teacher centered, what will happen? It will be good, it will become good for the teacher, but it will become bad for the learner. So you need to understand that it should be pupil centered only, right? Then vertical as well as the horizontal deployment of the teachers. Now what is this vertical and horizontal deployment of the teachers? Vertical and horizontal deployment of the teachers, it simply means that vertical and horizontal deployment of the teachers means that the teachers, right? Vertical and horizontal deployment of teachers, it simply means that how you are going to engage your teachers in an effective manner, right? Similarly, the balance. What does balance means? Balance means whether you are able to utilize your resources in such a way that fruitful results are being delivered by the timetable that you have constructed. So these are the various points that you have to keep in mind when you are designing the timetable. Then the same point that I have discussed earlier also, the efficient deployment of the teachers. How you are going to deploy your teachers, like how to use a math teacher. Sometimes there may be a situation that you may have a science teacher who is also good in mathematics also, and sometimes it may be that you have a language teacher who is good in drawing and painting also. So how you are going to use the resources, right, that will decide your successfulness in terms of a school leader and management. That is why the course which is being given to you, which is being provided to you in this online mode by this prestigious university IGNO of India, right, one of the most prestigious central universities of India, right, it has developed such a good course and with the good content which I have discussed with you, that is the postgraduate diploma in school leadership and management. Why I'm going to discuss it again and again, school leadership and management? Because these brief ideas, these ideas of curriculum development, these ideas of timetable construction, how to prepare, how to construct a good timetable, what are the principles that you have to keep in mind while designing the uh, while designing a good timetable, while designing a good curriculum, right? These points just decide the successfulness of you as a school leader and the successfulness of your management as a school manager. That is why this is very important. Now on your screen there is a case study. So since we have only a few minutes left, so I will not go for the whole case study, but later on this will be available in LMS also. So you just go for these case studies, you just go for the different activities. This case study basically talks about a teacher who is a physical science teacher and the school head. What it talks about, this case study talks about a situation where there is a school teacher, where there is a school principal who has a school teacher who is belongs to the physical science. Now at the same time in the timetable, three classes, one of from junior section, one from middle section, and one from senior section, they are on the ground, they are just in enjoying their timetable with the period of games. They have to play there, all three sections at the same time. So in the school playground, which is not very big, there is a crowd of these people only, these students only, and some of the senior section boys, they are playing a game like cricket, and someone gets just hurt from the junior section. So this is a problem which happens repeatedly. Now the school head just decides that though all the three sections will go to the field at the same time, but the school physical science teacher, the sports teacher, will take in cognizance, will take in mind, will take care of the fact that all three, they are located at the three different points of the playground, so that none of them just get hurt. Right, so this is a situation. Please go through this case study, and if you find any problem in solving out this one or understanding this one, you may just pose that in the LMS. Right, now let us talk about the constraints of the timetable. The constraints of timetable, what are the various factors that constrain timetable? Now time is the first factor that constrains a timetable. Time is the first factor. Why time? Because you have a limited time, you have a fixed time, and that you have to fix upon when you are designing a timetable. Second important point is the availability of the teacher, whether a teacher is available on all particular days or not. This may seriously affect a timetable. So these are the two important points which decide which constraint or which decide the successfulness of a timetable: time and the teacher availability. Another important factor or another important constraint is the school building. Right, school building also plays a very important role, because for the same number of learners, how many learners do you have, how much space do you have, what is the size of the class, what is the size of the school, right, how you are going to plan these things in the school building that you have, that your school possesses, that also plays a very important role. Now the traditional attitudes, this also is very important, because this traditional attitude, it actually affects the efficiency of the school. So this traditional attitude plays a very important role. Now lack of public utilities, this also restrict the timetable. For example, if you are a school, do not have you can say you do not have the proper arrangement for electricity, or water supply is not there, then how you can assume, how you can just decide that good learning outcomes will be there? This may just create a problem, right? So public utilities, they must be available in your school. Then timings of the school day, this obviously plays a very important role. And adherence to the timetable, whether you have something or not, but whether you are adhering to the timetable, this definitely plays a very important role when you are designing or constructing a timetable. Means you are fixing the timetable in such a manner that all the important activities, they are conducted at a particular time. This is to be taken care of. Now again, some case studies mentioned here, which is related to class 10th. Again, as a school leader and a school manager, you have to check this, right? Please go for this case study, and when you get time, please post some questions related to this in the LMS that you have. I will just try to take your questions. Okay, now we are moving towards the end of unit number 2, and we have only a few topics left here, which is basically related to the designing of a timetable. And this we will try to understand in brief for three major aspects, that is for the primary schools, then for the secondary schools, and finally for the senior secondary schools. Right, like how, if you are appointed as a school leader, if you are appointed as a school manager or school principal, then how you are going to design a timetable. This is very important. So for the primary schools, first we will talk about primary schools only. So for the primary schools, there are certain steps. See, I have highlighted the steps which are involved in the process. What are the steps? So the first step is, first you must have all the information, that what is the timing, what is the subject. This is very important. For designing or constructing any timetable, you need to understand that what is the time that you have, how much time do you have, and what are the subject combinations. Number one. Number two is, what are the amenities, what are the facilities that you have, the classrooms, the science rooms, the activity rooms. Do you have a library? Do you have a hall? Whether you have a playing field, you have garden, you have lawn, you have other spaces. How much space do you have? What is the physical space that you have? This you need to understand. So the first step talks about the teachers. First step talks about the time. How much time do you have? What are the subjects? What are the subjects you have? Second step talks about the school amenities or the physical space. The third talks about the number of teachers. See, the exact number of teachers available. How many teachers do you have, right? Then fourth is the special education teachers. And the another concept is double session or the shift. If you have more number of students, you will go for double sessions. You will go for more than one session on a particular day. So for primary schools, you need to keep a view on these things only. So it is comparatively very easier for the principal or the school head or the school leader or the school manager to construct a timetable for the primary schools, because you have only 5 classes starting from grade 1 to grade 5. Or if you have the kindergarten stages or kindergarten school, then you have again 3 or 4 classes. So it is easier for a school leader or a principal to organize or to manage or to construct a timetable, and you have to take into consideration only 4 or 5 points. Now, what will be the responsibility of a school teacher? Basically, the responsibility will be to just follow the rules, to just use the optimum use of the school resources. See, on the screen I have highlighted it. You need to focus upon that how as a school teacher, how as a school leader, how as a school manager, you are going to make maximum use of the school resources. You need to avoid clashes, to avoid differences between the teachers. It should not be like that. Some of the teachers, they are being given priority. You must treat them equal, right? And if you have special learners, so the 21st century also talks about the special learners, you need to allocate special education teachers accordingly. So it is comparatively easier to prepare and conduct or to organize, to design, to apply a timetable at the primary stage. Now, when it is same for secondary school, then what are the various steps that you need to follow? Again, the step number one is list the number of teaching rooms. What are the physical components that you have? See, what are the physical components? Classroom, the laboratories, workshops. Whether you have these things or not, this you have to keep in mind, because as soon as you are appointed as a school leader or a manager or a principal of secondary school, you need to have information that how many learners will be there in your classroom, in all the classrooms in your school, right? So classrooms, number of classrooms, laboratories, and along with the number, you also must have the information about the limiting factors, that what are the limits, what are the constraints, what is good and what is not that good, or you can say what is bad. So when you are able to fix that what are the strong points and what are the weaker points related to the first step, that is the physical amenities, then you will be in a comfortable situation. Second point is, see, the second step is limiting factors. If you have some limiting factors, means if space is less or if laboratory do not have some equipments, then accordingly you will manage out the things. So first step is to trace out what you have. Second is to plan accordingly for what you do not have. Third important step is the subjects that you have, right? Subjects you have, and the subjects, what are the core subjects and what are the optional subjects. Like, what are the core subjects? Mathematics, science, language is a core subject. What are the optional subjects? Drawing, computers, it may be an optional subjects. It depends upon in which school, or what is the policy of your school, what is optional and what is core in your school, right? Now the time allotment, how much time you want to allot. Generally the pattern is 40 minutes of the teaching periods, right? How many periods in a day? 8 periods in a day. You start at 10 a.m. or you end at 4 p.m., or you start at 9 a.m., you end at 3 p.m. So 6 hours, 7 hours, this you have to decide. Now, listing of the teachers by name and subject. Will teach English, Mr. Y will teach this language, Mr. Z will teach mathematics. So name of the teacher, teaching subject. Now there might be some of the teachers who may teach more than one subject, means maths and science in the one go. So how many classes do they teach? What is the load in terms of hours? How many hours will they teach? This you have to keep in mind. Now similarly, pupil's name, what are the subjects that they have chosen? So information from the point of view of teacher, as well as information from the point of view of the learner also. Now sometimes there is shortage of teacher. So if there is shortage of the teacher, if teacher is not available, maybe for a long time, maybe there may be some female teacher who is not available for a few months due to the extension of the family, right, due to the pregnancy issues. So what what you will decide, what you will do there, this you have to keep in mind from the very beginning, right? Then there are some other points also, that subject department heads. You need, as a school principal, as a school manager, as a school leader, you need to talk to the heads of the subjects, like to the mathematics teachers. There will be one head of the mathematics teacher, right? How many periods are to be allocated? One period, second, two periods, more than one, more than two. What is the time allotment? This you have to keep in mind. Then along with that amount of teaching time, amount of non-teaching time also need to be mentioned. Now what is this non-teaching time? This is basically the time which we decide for the student welfare and guidance, and for their interval, what we call as the meal timings, right? And the last one is presenting a timetable, how you are going to present a timetable. And initially I have already discussed with you that there are several types of the timetable. So this is the interesting thing in this unit, that you have lot of you have information about the different types of timetable. And when you are designing the timetables, you need to present those timetables. How you are going to present those timetables, either with the use of computers, or in the magnetic board, with the color coding, different type of timetables. The timetable which is for the principal, timetable for the teachers, timetable for the class teacher, timetable for the spare time, right? So in this way, in these 10 steps, you can decide the timetable, you can construct a timetable for the secondary school, for the secondary school. So when you are a school principal, or when you are, after doing this course successfully, this PG diploma in school leadership and management, if your principal asks you, or if you are promoted as a principal, as a school leader, as a school teacher, as a school head, then this opportunity will come to you, that to design and construct a timetable, effective timetable, a good timetable. Then you can just follow these principles. And since we have a limited time to discuss all the aspects, though I have tried my best, but still, if you have some queries or questions, you may just post your questions in the chat box or in the LMS. I will try to answer those ones. Now we are coming to the end of the unit number 2, which is the last topic, preparation of timetable for the senior secondary schools. So believe me, if you have understood the timetable construction for uh, primary level, for the elementary level, and for the secondary level, then it is very easier for you to design the timetable for the senior secondary school. Again, you have to decide that whether it is a 2 or 3 year program. Then you have to decide how many teachers do you have, how many facilities, physical amenities, physical facilities that you have. For science, you have laboratories. How many apprentices do you have? For language, do you have a language laboratory? For mathematics, how many teachers do you have? Because maths is an abstract subject, it's a difficult subject. What is the expertise of the teachers? In what area they are good? Like in languages, you have different things. Grammar is there, then comprehension is there, then some other things are there. So whether they are good in that, or some in one part or in other part. Similarly, in mathematics, you have arithmetic, you have algebra, you have geometry, you have trigonometry. Similarly, in science, you have physics, chemistry, biology, and some other type of subjects, like indigenous knowledge, maybe based on indigenous knowledge. So in which core area your teacher expertise, you have to keep that information, and accordingly you may just utilize your resources. Now the last point is the time frame. This is the second last, then we will go for the last one. It will just take 5 minutes. I know that you are just engaged with me for last 2 hours, right? So in next 5 minutes we will try to cover up. So time period, this again I have discussed with you. What will be the time duration of a period? How many periods in a particular day? How many periods in a particular week? This you need to understand, right? And when you are designing the timetable, then two important criterias or two important devices that you need to understand is blocking and setting. What is this blocking and setting? I'm just giving you a brief idea of blocking by showing you a chart. This is blocking. What is blocking? Suppose you have 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, right? Or 6 days, that is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Now you found, or you have the idea that your learners are facing problem in English and mathematics. So what you can do? You can fix English. You can block English here, then mathematics here. Similarly, on Tuesday, you may block mathematics here. It means that mathematics will be essentially taught on these days. English will be essentially taught on these days. So this is the blocking. Blocking means to fix, to decide, to strictly give particular time to a particular subject. This is the example of blocking. Similarly, what is the example of setting? This is the example of setting. For example, you have subject like design and technology, that is D&T, then home economics, that is HE, and then geography and history. What is setting? Setting is the same as blocking, with the idea that you need to arrange the subjects in such a manner, right? So I'm talking about blocking and setting. Blocking is to specifically design a timetable so that one subject may be blocked. Blocked means it is to be essentially taught, and setting is to fix other subjects so that the learners may get an idea, or they may just get equal idea, understanding of both the type of the subjects, easier as well as a difficult one where they are finding difficulty, right? That's why it has been written here, it has been highlighted. Both blocking and setting are infinitely better than streaming, where whole classes are decided on the ability level of the people. So you need to understand this statement. If you are able to understand this statement, which I have highlighted here, then you will be able to understand the idea of blocking and setting, right? This blocking and setting is little, I will say that this is a little bit technical in nature, because for that you have to do some exercise. So if you have some problem related to blocking and setting, you may just ask the questions or queries in LMS. My idea is to just present before you a brief viewpoint of blocking and setting. If you have some queries, please post it in the LMS. I will definitely come back with certain examples also, right? So that you may get a good idea. And the last point is the role of the school head. So this we have already discussed, that as a school head, you need to uh, take the responsibility that what will be better for you as a school head, what will be better for your teachers, and finally what will be better for the learners, right? So with this note and with this last question, see, you can find here the questions. Explain setting. So I told you blocking and setting, so you may find such type of the questions in the assignment also. Please feel free to ask your questions if you have. At this point of time, let me stop sharing and just go to the uh, chat box and see. Okay, in the chat box there are no questions though, but still, if you have some questions, you may please ask. I have 3 participants here. Let me congratulate you also and thank you also to join me and listen to me for last 2 hours approximately, right, with full patience. If you have some questions, please ask, or if you prefer to ask it through LMS by posting your queries there, then you are welcome in that mode also. It was a good attempt on your at your end, as well as especially from the end of Indira Gandhi National Open University, to provide you such a platform, and also to provide me a platform to interact with the international students. All right. So yeah, any one of you, please, Mr. Remindako or Sufia or Peter, any one of you, please. I hope I was well audible enough throughout the course. Okay, blocking and setting are not clearly understood. Okay. Yeah, please. You just want me to discuss the blocking and setting. That's the reason, due to paucity of time, I was able to give you a few examples, right? You may just pose the same in the LMS. I will try to take your query from there. Though, since you have asked me the question, let me just answer your question here, that blocking, or let me just answer it uh, verbally, that blocking is basically the, you can say, blocking is all about how to fix. Blocking actually occurs when certain classes are timetabled together throughout the timetable. Basically, it depends upon the teachers who are available, right? This is the blocking. And when we talk about setting, setting is basically a process, or basically a strategy, which is designed in such a way that two subjects are set against each other, right? So in this way, blocking and setting, they are they just go together. blocking and setting, they just go together, they occur together to create or to construct a good timetable, right? Still, I will you just post your question in the LMS also. I will try to explain it there with more examples. Is it okay, Miss Sufia?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, fine, sure. Please don't hesitate in asking and posting your questions in the LMS, right? I will just revert back.